You're listening to Orlando Credit Union's On the Money. I'm your host, Kaylee Green, and today we're doing a special segment that I like to call Meet the Community Leaders. And today we're talking to the Chief Operating Officer of Habitat for Humanity of Seminole County and Greater Apopka, Kelly Pisciotta. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I think this is such an important topic to talk about. You guys are really impacting Central Florida, so fantastic to have you here to talk a little bit about exactly what you're doing. So explain to all of our listeners what Habitat for Humanity is all about. I feel like it's a very common company name to hear. I've definitely heard it a handful of times before. So for anybody who's maybe heard it but doesn't know exactly what you do, explain that.
So at Habitat for Humanity, we like to say that we are a full service housing provider. So everybody knows about Habitat for Humanity, that you're swinging hammers and you're building houses and you're doing the different things like that.
Yep.
But we are really a full service provider because it's not only about building those houses. It's also about educating future home buyers, working with them with their financial stability and their financial wellness and everything that they need to do to be able to be a successful homeowner when the time comes. So we're providing a lot of different services to the community where it's not only home ownership, but it's also and budgeting and the different things like that of everything that it goes into actually being a successful homeowner.
And that's so important, especially right now with how we're seeing pricing change in the housing market and all of that. All encompassing, so important to really bring to light the importance of that. So what do you do within the organization specifically?
So within the organization, I am the Chief Operating Officer, which, as anybody knows, when you have the title of COO, it's a little bit of everything. So with that being said, so I just celebrated 30 years in the housing industry. I started 30 years ago and working with affordable housing.
So you've seen it change a lot.
I've seen it change a lot, and everything across the board, from financing, the budgeting, which I've already said, and just all of the changes, and even just the maximum, increase in pricing on what it was even 10 years ago for affordability and the things like that for future home buyers.
So you've talked a little bit about what you do for the organization and also that you have a very extensive background. Tell us a little bit more about your background from the start.
All right. So from the start, really, if we go all the way back, all the way back, I actually started in the banking business.
Okay.
So when I start, when I'm talking with the credit unions and I'm talking with the banks and the things like that with CRA, because I was actually a CRA compliance officer.
Okay.
And this goes back with some people that are very young, might not even remember Barnett Bank, is where I started as a CRA compliance officer. And that kind of evolved into, there was an organization that was started in Lake County, is where I came from.
Okay.
And there was an organization that was started, and it was Affordable Housing by Lake. And what this organization, it was started by a bunch of bankers to be able to educate people on, on home ownership and the different things like that, of being able to get people into it. Because at the time, the banks were the bad guys. So nobody from the community, a bank would try and hold something and nobody would show up.
Yeah.
So the bankers got together and they said, let's form this organization. Well, at about the time the organization was formed, the Sadowski Act was on the table up in Tallahassee. And what the Sadowski Act did is that when that passed, that's how we got our SHIP program, the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program, which is a down payment program to help first-time home buyers. So this all came into play back in 1994 at the same time that I came into the housing industry. So we started looking at being able to get down payment and financing and different things like that for people that were looking for home ownership. And we had an extensive education program. So it kind of morphed where I was doing the CRA and the compliance, and then this position came up, so it just kind of rolled.
Yeah.
And so I went from that side in the banking business to the nonprofit side and providing housing. And 30 years later, I'm still here providing that housing for people.
Do you think that right off the bat, you kind of found that love for that specific topic?
I did. I absolutely did. And the reason that I did, I've always been somebody in my life that has wanted to fight for the underdog. I've been that way even as a child. And I am a firm believer that everyone deserves the right to safe, decent housing. I've also done this long enough to know that home ownership is not necessarily for everybody. However, part of our job is educating people on what is right for them, whether it is to be a homeowner or whether it is to be able to get them into a decent, affordable rental also. That is part of what our job is. But everybody deserves that right, and they deserve the right to be able to see if that is right for them or not.
So you're talking about, what makes you so passionate about working for this organization. What are some examples of things that you've seen that have been rewarding and made you think, yes, I'm in the right area. I'm working in the right industry.
I have so many stories on that. I know we only have 20 minutes, but I have so many stories on that. So when you start working with, because what we're doing is that we are breaking a generation of poverty is what we're doing. And you can look at on any given day, and I have millions of stories of I'm the first home buyer in my family, of, being able to say, because I grew up in Section 8 housing or whatever the case may be, and I'm the first one that's owned a home. But I will tell you the most rewarding on what happens is that when we have a celebration, we do a dedication in a lot of cases, and you're walking through the house and one of the children comes along and they grab your hand. Miss Kelly, I want you to come and see my bedroom. And this is the first time I've had my own bedroom because Mom and I usually have to sleep on a couch. Oh my goodness. There you go. Wow. So, and that's, that happens often, but it's also even just getting people out of, because in Central Florida, all over, but in Central Florida specifically for the past 5 to 6 years, we're in a major housing crisis, and just to be able to have a rental unit, the average rent is $2,000 a month. So when you're paying $2,000 a month, how do you save to become a homeowner?
Yeah.
And you're breaking that cycle, and then what people are having to do is make the very tough decision of, do I pay my rent? Do I buy food? Or what do I need to do for my family? Yeah. And getting people into affordable home ownership, they're looking at about a 50% reduction on what they will be paying for a home.
That is huge.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking about how much home ownership has changed, since 2017. Yes. It's really crazy how much things have just gone up. So an organization like yours is just so important for that. Obviously, you are impacting Central Florida every day in a positive way, but tell us specifically how you're making that happen.
We are specifically making that happen in several ways. So, we've talked a lot about, Habitat. Everybody knows that it's about building a house and it's about home ownership. But the other thing that we also provide, because like I said, we want to be a resource for the community, is that we also provide financial wellness classes for anyone in the community that would like to attend. So we call it our Financial Academy. It's a 6-week online class that anybody can attend if they choose to, whether they want to buy a house or they don't want to buy a house. And it's basically from budgeting, from their credit and everything else that they would need to do, just to be able to help them to take that step of what they need to do to be able to make things better for themselves.
And a lot of times it's like you don't know what to do.
Don't know.
So you need that information.
You don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
So, and then of course the other impact is, getting people into safe, decent, affordable housing. At the end of the day, of being able to get them into that brand new home, at half of what they are paying in rent, so that in itself is a huge impact. So everything that we're doing, from their financial wellness to what the end result can be, and just being a part of the community, because Habitat we're part of the solution, but it takes the entire community working together to be able to get to the full solution.
Yeah. And you had talked to me right before we started recording a little bit about all the ways that you are, helping people aside from, putting on the hard hat, hammering things down. So what I thought was interesting was the mentorship that you guys offer. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. So we have what we call our mentoring council. So at Habitat, when it comes to staff, there might be like 8 to 10 of us, I'm throwing that number out there, but we're working with on a daily basis about 20 future home buyers. So what we do with our mentoring council is that we have individual volunteers on this council, and we assign an individual to each of our future home buyers. And what that person is that they're an added resource to our future home buyer. So we're working with them, helping to get them to the finish line, but then they have that added resource of somebody being there, a sounding board for them. And, talking them through their financing once we start talking about their mortgage and the different things like that, and really just helping them through the process. Because what I tell all of our future home buyers, that purchasing a house is one of the largest investments you're going to make in your life besides your children, because it is a huge investment and you need to go into it thinking that this is going to be for 30 years.
Yeah.
So the mentoring council is just that added resource. The beautiful thing that I've seen with our mentors and with the council, I've seen lifelong friendships form with our future home buyers. I mean, they still, once they're in their house, they're still going to lunch. They're still talking on a weekly basis, and it's, once again, it's just that added resource because we're helping to build their confidence.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, we want to speak to those future homeowners and saying that you have those resources to help them. But for somebody who might want to become a mentor, what does that look like?
What they would do is that basically it's what they do with us is a monthly commitment, at least a monthly, where we meet once a month and we just get updates on that. But then it's as much or it's as little or as much as they want it to be, of being able just to be there to make that phone call, talk to them weekly, talk to them biweekly. So it's completely up to what the mentor wants to do. If anybody is interested in becoming a mentor or finding out other ways to volunteer with us, they can reach out directly to me, or they can actually also go to our website to get information, because we do have a lot of opportunities for our mentors. We also have other committees, because it's not all about building houses. It's all about volunteers on what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But building houses, of course, is definitely a part of it. So like we were talking about, sometimes when you think Habitat for Humanity, you think of wearing the hard hat.
Yep.
What does a day like that look like?
A day like that normally looks like that you come out to a job site anywhere from 7:30 to 8 in the morning, and you work till about noon. And one of the things that we like to let people know is that to come on a Habitat for Humanity construction site, no experience is necessary. So somebody that might be afraid, that's never held a hammer before, can come out and they will be taught on what they need to do, because we've got supervisors that help them through that process. I always joke with everybody that if they let me on a site, they're going to let anybody on a site. So, but we provide those resources, and that's the other great thing that I've seen, is that I've also seen people get taught skills, on how they can actually take care of something themselves, whether it be a volunteer or one of our future home buyers.
Yeah. If you want to, show up on one of those construction sites, do you have to sign up online, or what would that look like?
What you do is you go to our website, and our website is habitatsemiноleapopka.org. And right there, it's very easy to follow, and it'll give you register you for and show you what we've got coming up.
Okay.
And you can sign up to come out on one of our sites. We also provide information about our different committees and other ways of getting involved with us.
Okay, that's really great information. And obviously, it's just the beginning. You guys are going to continue to make an impact in the Central Florida area. So how are you hoping to see the organization grow in the future?
One of the things that we're looking at right now, so we can have a larger impact. So we've always been an organization where, you build infill houses. And what that is, we build one here, we build one there. One way that we are looking to make a larger impact is that we are looking at building actually communities and developments. We just dedicated last week a development where we've done 6 houses. Over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to be doing some larger developments where we're doing a huge townhouse project. We've got another piece of property where we're going to be doing 19 houses. So we're building developments, and we're looking at that and having a larger impact as opposed to like the infill, because the more property that we can find and the more houses we can buy, the more that we can get done at affordable prices for people.
So I have to ask you this, because I'm sure you have many, many stories. Are there any examples that come to mind of a time where you really saw how Habitat for Humanity made an impact on a family?
Yes. Gosh, let me think about this one for a minute. We've recently, let me tell you a story from last year. So we had a young lady, and we've had several of these. We had a young lady that was living at Orlando Rescue Outreach Mission. And basically it was just life had happened. Had been living there for 2 years, raising her 4 children, 2 older girls and 2 younger boys. And she got wind and she heard about Habitat for Humanity. So I always tell people that Habitat for Humanity, we're not the quick fix. It can take anywhere from 12 to 24 months sometimes to get into your home. Our future home buyers are required to they do what we call sweat equity. They have hours that they have to do in order to be able to get into their home. Well, we had this opportunity with this young lady, and from the day she came into the program to the day she got into her home, it was 6 months.
Wow.
And that was doing 200 hours. And that was us. And she ended up taking one of our rehabilitated homes because occasionally we'll rehab a house. And the impact that had on her 2 older girls, but I think about her 2 younger sons. They had basically really only either been like in an apartment, car, or the rescue. They never, ever had their own yard. And all they wanted was to be able to play football in their backyard. Oh. And they were both under the age of 8 at the time. And the day of the dedication for their house, we made sure there was a football there for them. And when they were doing the dedication, watching those 2 boys play in their backyard I can't even put into words. And what also happened even before that, she never told them that they were getting this home. So at the dedication, the boys sat in the car and then they put little blindfolds on the boys. And when they came out and they're kind of looking around at all of these people and they really didn't know what was happening. And they got to walk into their house for the first time. I can't even put it into words. And I've done this for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I still get choked up with all of the stories and whatever the case may be. Because once again, we've changed somebody's life. We've changed their future.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I'm getting goosebumps just hearing these stories. I mean, you're right. You're changing people's futures for the better, which I think is so important. So
Absolutely.
What you guys are doing here in Central Florida is just very prevalent, I think, for, making this a better generation for the future.
Yes.
So tell listeners where they can go for more information.
For more information, please go to our website, and it is habitatsemiноleapopka.org, and any information that they would want about any programs, about donating, becoming a volunteer, and just the impact and what we're doing in the community can all be found on our website.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And to learn more about how Orlando Credit Union is partnering with organizations like this one, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Orlando CU4U. Or you can visit us on our website at orlandocreditunion.org. Until next time, we're investing in you. Orlando Credit Union is providing this podcast as a public service. The information provided is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of Orlando Credit Union policy. Reference to any specific product does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by the credit union. Views and opinions expressed by Orlando Credit Union employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the views of the credit union or any of its officers. Orlando Credit Union is not providing any financial, economic, legal, accounting, or tax advice or recommendations in this podcast.